Welcome to the Stack of Stats podcast. I'm Pam Maldonado with Kelly Stewart, aka KellyInVegas, bringing you all of the analytics behind the NFL contest bets. Kelly, my girl, I was just telling you this week sucks, and your reaction was complete opposite.
I like way too much this week. There's a lot of great teaser spots. I know the teasers have been terrible.
Oh, they are.
There's a lot of like little short underdogs that I like, a couple home favorites that are short as well. It is. I said this, I think I tweeted on Tuesday. I was like, I hated this week in college, hated it. It was like such a struggle to find three dogs I thought could win outright. And in NFL, I have like four dogs I think that can win outright.
Well, it is week 6 of the NFL. We are still moving. We are grooving after back-to-back 4-1 weeks. We hit 3 4-1 weeks in the first 4. We hit a tiny bump. We went 3-1-1 for 3.5 points in the contest because of that push. Overall, we are 17-7-1. That's fucking awesome. Your best bets are 4-1. My best bets are 4-1. So I think we're good. I think what we're doing is working.
It's working. And that's all that matters. We may disagree on like 90% of the board, but those 5 that were like, okay, fine, here's our 5 is working out well for us.
And honestly, last week it could have been like another 4-1 situation, but we had the Dolphins in there, and you don't ever expect for the quarterback to go out in the first play of the game. So once that happens, you kind of know, it's a crapshoot. It's not unlikely to happen.
Listen, sometimes those things go our way. Bailey Zappi the week before, Brian Hoyer went out in the first series, and Bailey Zappi came in. Unfortunately, I'm not going to blame Skylar Thompson because I am kind of looking at the Dolphins this week, and we'll get into it later on. The Jets looked really good. The Jets did look, and no Tyreek Hill, or Tyreek Hill not at 100%. There was a lot of things that didn't go our way, unfortunately, in that Dolphins game. So hopefully we can get a couple things that can go our way this week. I just text my buddies in my fantasy football league. They said, sometimes you just need a little good luck. I go, I will take good luck over anything else in the world. And they said, why? And I go, because you can handicap, you can work your tail off, and it doesn't matter. That good luck is what you need, and that's how you get over that finish line, or you maybe win a quarterly prize, or you win the whole damn thing.
Absolutely, because you're talking about, this is the NFL. It is probably, if it is, I'm not going to say probably, it is the most difficult sport to handicap, because I love tennis, and it's because you have one person against one person and an electronic system that tells you if a ball is in or out. The NFL is hella subjective. You have to not only handicap the game correctly because of quarterbacks and coaching and injuries and weather and domes and not, but you also have to get lucky that you don't get a pass interference call that goes against you, or it works towards you, or you get a field goal that made it by this much. I mean, there's so much variance involved that you can handicap it perfectly and still be on the wrong side of luck, or kind of like sucked at the handicap, but you got a little lucky with the backup quarterback that came in and saved the day. Like, it's just so much variance involved.
You're right.
That's
variance
why we love
is the key. It's the most efficient market. There's a reason why the bookmakers spend the most time on it, because they know that every single one of us, regardless, is going to sit down on our couches on Sunday, watch these games, and we want to have the action. And that's why, as I stated, even last week, I just played 2 games, and everybody goes, how? And I go, because I'm so sick of having a good Saturday, last week excluded. I had a terrible Saturday, but Sunday made up for it. And that's very rare for me. And so this is a week where I'm going, oh my God, I'm going to have way too many teasers. I got way too many games. Like, it's almost making me like apprehensive.
No. Stop.
Discipline.
Stop it. What did we say in week 1? Remember? Okay, there's that. What's that card, dude? It's like, Stewie, stop it. Stop it. There's that week 1. You said, Pam, I'm going to stick to my best bets. If I only stuck to my best bets last season, I would have made bank. Kelly, I'm here to tell you, absolutely do not stray away from what's been working, because I will tell you that, myself included, I usually had never even really bet the NFL. I love doing it for content. It's great. It's a big learning experience. I am doing better in the NFL, and I am betting just my best bets. I think now total, I have like 8 total bets that I have done, and they're 7-1. And
there you go.
It's my best bets. And then I do either a live situation, or like last night, I took a prop that I really loved. But I have to really, really, really love it. I don't want to like teasers and, oh, this could be fun, and I think it works out. No, love your bets, because that is how you build a bankroll. So Kelly, stick to your discipline.
I know. I
I'm gonna
have
be
to
Mama
say
Bear.
it
I'm gonna
out
be
loud.
Mama Bear.
No, and I appreciate that because that's all I do all week long in my media stuff. I preach, 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 and I never want to sound like holier than thou, but I'm actually saying it for myself because
Yeah.
I lack so much self control in every aspect of my life that I have to sit down and say, all right, this is it. And then you put the phone away and you're done. We're going to see how Sunday plays out.
Okay, let's see how this week goes. All right, just a reminder of what it is that we are doing. We are making 5 against the spread contest picks each week in the NFL. Automatically in is Kelly's best bet. Automatically in is my best bet. And then together we are trying to find a way to come up with 3 because more often than not, and this week is no different, we are opposite on a lot of options. So Kelly, we'll start first with your best bet. You are 4-1 on the season. What do you got?
Yeah, I'm going to take the New Orleans Saints here. Jameis did practice, so that is good news or bad news, depending on how you like to look at it, whether it's him or Andy Dalton. I'm not really that worried about it. I don't think there's much of a drop off here. What I'm betting on is 2 things. One is this Saints defense and being able to put pressure on Joe Burrow. If you can put pressure on Joe Burrow, you can beat him. We know this O line has been suspect for the last couple of years. They just allow him sometimes to just get obliterated in the backfield. No T. Higgins. It means they're going to double team Jamar Chase. Now let's talk about the Bengals. This is a Bengals team that I told everybody to start the season. I think we're going to see some regression. They won games in, we'll call it coin flip situations because that's the best way I can say it, Pam. They won games they weren't supposed to win, right? They got the better of those coin flips. You were just talking about variance. They were at the top of the variance. They just kept exceeding expectations week after week. And sometimes those things have to come back to the mean. And that's what we're seeing this year. Now, by all means, Cincinnati's been great against the spread. Even this season, they covered just again against the Ravens the other night. But my good friend Ralph Michaels does what I like to call nerd charts for me. And that's because my brain is very visual, Pam. I can read, I can see things, but when somebody talks about something, I like to see it broken down. Right. And so he'll put together these like little graphs for me. And I said, hey, I want to know how teams doing either back-to-back primetime games or back-to-back road games. And that is how I found the Saints in my best bet this week, because there was about 3 games in like I would call a 3-horse race where I couldn't quantify that I liked one better than the other. But this gave me enough edge to say it's going to be the Saints. And that is teams in back-to-back road games. Now, this is over a 200 game sample size, are less than 43%. And so saying, listen, here you have this Bengals team that has a couple of these blows to their offense, but also maybe going on the road isn't the greatest spot for them, especially laying points. I understand there's a lot of question marks still with the receiving core for the Saints. Olave is still a question mark. We know Michael Thomas is probably going to be in there. Jameis Winston still a question mark. Marshawn Lattimore is the most important one to me. I need him in there playing for that defense. But we do know that they're getting Alvin Kamara back. And I really like Alvin Kamara, what he's been able to do. I think he's probably my favorite player on the Saints, only because he's so versatile. We know he's a running back on the depth chart, but he also plays this great, like almost slot receiver type of role where he's really exciting. And I think that that's where those dink and dunk passes keep Jameis in his box, keep Andy in his box. Again, don't care who it is. When we have the right offensive schemes, those guys do not create turnovers. And I think that's what we're going to see here against this Bengals defense. It's just kind of middle of the road. I do not think this is going to be a high scoring affair. I think this looks like let's call it 24-21 type final, but I do think the Saints will win this one.
So this was actually my best bet, but for the total, I'll admit that I didn't have a best bet against the spread this week, but I loved the under on this game for a lot of the reasons that you mentioned.
I love that we just didn't discuss that, but we agree.
Yeah, but some of the reasonings to help back your case. I don't know about the side. I don't have like a strong conviction to the Bengals or to the Saints, but I do love the under 4 because one of the stats that goes along with it is that the Saints, they're the second best in the league in opponent red zone conversion rate, which means when teams are getting downfield, they are forcing more field goals than they are turnovers. I mean, so then touchdowns. The Saints have also allowed a touchdown on only 16% of drives. That is the top 10 in the league. So those are some stats to kind of help you to go, yeah, the Saints could very well win out right here. But for some of the regions you mentioned, along with some of those data points, I love the under on this game. So that's my best bet for Yahoo is what I did. I got to admit, I don't know what to make for my best bet. And so this week I am putting my best bet record of 4-1 on the line here, taking a little bit of a riskier play, but I still love it. So this is going to be my best bet for the pod, and it is the Dolphins plus 3.5 at home to the Vikings. I am putting my best bet record on the line with the Dolphins. I would like to sing that song like other people do. Miami Dolphins, Miami. I'm terrible at singing.
I've
So that was my
literally never
attempt.
heard that song. Now I need you to sing it for us.
Todd, this is a good shout out to you. But Kirk Cousins, this is his first time playing in Miami. He is a dome boy. He is playing in 90-degree heat, 70 plus humidity. The Dolphins preseason, I wrote about them. You want to take them at home against the spread, especially if they are an underdog. 8-3 at home as a home dog. This is including when Tua Tagovailoa was injured in both 2020 and 2021 seasons. Skylar Thompson, I believe in him. You and I are the Big 12 girls. We know him as a quarterback. I think he's a serviceable quarterback. 16 interceptions in his entire college career. That's 5 seasons, 6 seasons. That's amazing. That's great. I trust that he's going to be fine. The Vikings offense, 30th in third quarter scoring. They kind of chill out a little bit. They're right out of the gate. That's an opportunity for the Dolphins to come in because the Vikings defense, 27th in opponent third quarter points allowed. That's a little bit of a backdoor opportunity, at least early on. The Vikings win so far. 1 score wins. They won by 4 to the Lions. They won by 3 to the Saints. They even let the Bears, the Chicago Bears, put up 22 points. Justin Fields, who we know doesn't pass the ball, he had his only 200-yard passing game of the season against the Vikings. That was his best production. He had 71% completion, nearly 10 yards per pass. I think Skylar Thompson is fine. Some of those weapons are coming back. Tyreek Hill is back. He may be a serviceable quarterback just enough because his weapons that he has are so good. Coaching is so good, and it's still Miami Heat.
Yeah, listen, you nailed it. Pam, this was not on my early list, but full disclosure, I do another one of these contests with one of my best friends, Ben. And Ben texted me early in the week, I love the Vikings. Now, the joke with Ben is, and I can say this, is that he's the squarest of the square, or at least he says that about himself. So we almost always fade his best bet. And I said, okay, let's see how this week shakes out. Let me look at Skylar because I did not get to watch that Jets game on Sunday. Let me kind of see how well he did. But you nailed it. I really like Mike McDaniel. I think that he is an excellent head coach. He's a great X's and O's coach, and he knows what he has, whether it is Teddy Bridgewater, Tua Tagovailoa, or Skylar Thompson. And that is, do not allow them to go outside of their comfort zone. Skylar, when he got picked up by the Dolphins, I thought, man, he's going to be a great practice squad guy. And now I think under McDaniels, he is going to be really a developed quarterback. And I think he may be a really good backup somewhere. We're going to see. Last week, 19 of 33, 166 yards. He was okay, but you nailed it.
Thrown into it. He was
tough.
okay. He's a third string quarterback thrown into the mix. He's not at all expecting
rookie
in a first quarter of the game. Like, yeah, you're not getting first team reps. You're not even getting second team reps. Like I'm not using that as an indicator. And like you said, that the Jets are probably a really good defense. And then once you kind of it snowballs, and that's what happened. It snowballs. We saw it with the Bucs and the Chiefs where it just snowballed against Tom Brady and the Bucs at home.
Yep.
That's the same situation that happened last week. It was just one of those things where a fluke situation, boop, all of a sudden the Jets have 40 points and now you're down and out and you can't do anything about it. So I'm not really utilizing that as a Skylar Thompson is a bad quarterback situation, more of he wasn't expecting to play. Now he has a full week of practice.
The best part about this and why I like using it in the contest is because the market did go to 3. 3.5 and 3, we know are the biggest indicators of how a game's going to go. The fact that it came off 3.5 and the market is sitting at 3, I think gives us a really huge advantage here for these contests. I will be using them in all of my contests. I do a bunch of, like I mentioned before, a bunch of pick 5s and a pick 7, which has just been my demise. But I am going to be using the Dolphins on that stale number.
So then that's all we have because we don't agree on anything else.
On
You send
anything?
me
We don't agree on anything at all.
on the little tiny list that you sent me. Your
I got
lists
to
are
look at
getting
my little
smaller and
tiny list.
smaller, first off, so I'm happy for that. You're getting better. You sent me the Giants +5. I'm kind of opposite. You sent me
Okay.
the Colts. I'm opposite. And I think that's well, only because what you sent me for the Colts is -1.5. If this was -1.5 in the contest, all in. The contest line is 2.5. I
Ugh.
honestly can see this being a 22-24 game.
And I hate everybody and everything. Uh,
Yes.
okay.
Bills is 3. And I'm opposite. And Seahawks, I'm opposite. Browns, I'm opposite. So yeah, we're
Okay.
opposite.
So how about this? So the Bills at -2 is a lot different than the Chiefs +3.
I think the Chiefs win.
I do not know if I think the Chiefs win. I think that this is going to be a really great game. It's going to be a nice AFC Championship preview. I initially leaned the Bills at -2. So that is what I sent you. And then when the contest lines are out at 3, that is a pretty significant difference as well. As I just mentioned with the Dolphins,
Right.
I'm not opposed to taking the Chiefs at 3.
The Chiefs, I'm sorry, the contest line is 2.5.
Is it 2.5?
It is.
Okay.
So
So
let's look at some other options. You're opposite on Browns. I like Patriots. So the only other game. So let's talk about some options then, because that eliminates half the board.
and the Browns are 2.5 in the contest, correct?
Correct.
Okay. If they were at 3, I would consider taking the Pats. I'm not going to lie.
I think the Pats win. So okay, let's go ahead and talk about one option. This was what would have been the next 2 games that I'm going to talk about. All 3, I juggled between making my best bet. Falcons +5.5 at home to the 49ers. Scary, but hear me out. Back-to-back road games for San Francisco. You and I do not talk before we do this. You send me a list of 4 games like on a Tuesday. I don't even really pay attention to what you send
I
me,
know half
honestly.
the time you don't even
And
write me back.
I don't even respond because I don't get to NFL until Wednesday afternoons when the lines come out. I'm like, oh, the lines are out. Let me look. So the fact that you're telling me this road game scenario stat line, hey, that already works into our favor, first off. But back-to-back road games for San Francisco. Who do they have on deck? The Chiefs. The last time these two faced each other was Super Bowl 2020 with Jimmy G. And I know it's probably not a lot of implications, but I mean, it could be a look ahead spot automatically. Then, this is my question for you. Are this year's Falcons last year's Lions? 3 losses, all of them by 6 points or less. Garbage points. They are the 4th best. The Falcons are 4th best in 4th quarter scoring. The Falcons are getting by with their rushing offense against really good defenses. They have faced the Saints, the Rams, the Browns, and the Bucks. And yet, the Atlanta Falcons still 3rd in total rushing yards, top 10 in yards per carry. Marcus Mariota, he is a runner himself. Plus, he has a 2-back system with Tyler Algier, Caleb Huntley. So it's a 3-back system. I mean, they're basically like Army or Navy. San Francisco against mobile quarterbacks. This kind of reminds me of the game that we had last year, San Francisco at Chicago. Fields rushed for over 100 yards. The Niners allowed nearly 200 yards rushing, and the Bears were actually up through 3 quarters. And then things got away from them in the 4th. I had the Bears last year. I remember that game. And everyone had the under, and it was like an explosion of fireworks. I think this could also be like another high scoring game, but this is just like backdoor cover, look ahead spot, back to back road games. The Falcons are still undefeated against the spread.
So I made this game 6, Pam. So that's why I just kind of just brushed it off to the side. But it seems like every week you kind of dig up a few things where I wasn't paying attention. I did want to correct one thing on the nerd chart. It wasn't only back-to-back road games. It was lost last week and then are either a favorite or a dog this week. Cincinnati, 83, 106, and 4. That's 43%. San Francisco, 59, 56, and 3. That's 51%. So there's not as a significant edge, but it still is something to think about situationally. I'm with you on the Falcons. I can't believe I don't have anything written down on them. I must have just said, all right, this is what I made the game. I'm going to pass because it's not this 49ers team has been really good against the spread, as we saw again last week. I shouldn't say really good against the spread. Should have been
Mm-hmm.
decent against the spread, particularly on the road. And then I think what kind of scared me off is the Falcons being 5-0 against the spread. And typically
Eventually.
that's about the time the public starts to jump on board. And when they do,
Are
what
they going to
happens?
jump on board though against the 49ers, who are the number one rushing defense in the league? That's the I look at these stats and there's absolutely no reason to take the Falcons. The San Francisco 49ers are number one against the run. They're number three against the pass. They have the number one pass rush. And you're going up against the Falcons, who have who?
Who don't throw the ball.
Who don't throw the ball. So in what scenario you can ask 10 people on the street right now, name a player on the Falcons, and they're like, no, then they're not gonna know. Is Matt Ryan still there? Like, they're not gonna know.
Yeah.
And
I'm with you.
I was kind of in that same boat. You wanted to take them last week, and I was like, yeah, we were on the Bucks instead. They should have run, but then look what happened. That's why I'm asking: are they last year's Lions? Because this is a team that is fighting all four quarters. That
Yeah.
is exactly
And
what you want in
flying
an
under the
underdog
radar.
situation. Exactly.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think we add Atlanta.
I don't want to try to convince you, but
You don't need to convince me. You're right. Like I said, I opened my spreadsheet and I said, oh, I made the game 6. That must have been why I just passed. There wasn't anything definitive. And then you brought up a couple situational things. I think
situational.
that's the difference between you and I. I wouldn't say the difference, but I'm more of that situational type handicapper. I'm
Mm-hmm.
looking for those look ahead spots. I'm looking for those flat spots, particularly in college, because they're not as frequent in the NFL. Like every game matters in the NFL, and in college, sometimes you get those 19-year-old kids saying, we don't care about Iowa State. Look who we play next week, right? Like, and in the NFL, you
Right.
don't. But I do think you're absolutely right. As far as this 49ers team goes, second week on the road. I mean, I'm going to go ahead and guess they didn't fly back to San Francisco. I would have to
Mm-hmm.
double check that. But usually they stay on the East Coast. And what are they doing all week? Hanging out, eating pizza and ice cream? I don't know. But they're in Atlanta just hanging out. I'm with you. I like the Falcons here.
Okay, so the other game that I liked, and I don't have much options, I went back and forth on this. Earlier on Tuesday, I do a show on Tuesday, and I did declare that my best bet was the Cowboys. I obviously didn't do it for this show. I was pivoted to the Dolphins, but it is Cowboys +6 at the Eagles. And the reason why I laid off of it, I even bought out. I bought a ticket at 4.5, and I was like, "Oh, Cowboys all day! I'm done. This is like easy for me." The line moved to 6. I bought out of my ticket. I'd never do that, but the line movement does have me a little bit worried because the line moved to 4.5. It went to 6.5. Now it's back to 6 for the contest. It is 6. But the only thing that I can see in question is Michael Parsons was limited on Thursday. That was my literally one thing. I backed the Cowboys because of their defense. I backed the Cowboys because of that pass rush. You put pressure on Jalen Hurts, he's going to clam up just like every other quarterback. Philadelphia has faced really weak defenses. They are 5-0, but 4 of those wins came against teams that are bottom 6 in defense DVOA. The Cowboys are top 6 against the only other top 10 opponent, and that was the Jags, and we were on the Jags. Jalen Hurts had 0 touchdowns, 1 interception, and was sacked twice. He rushed for less than 40 yards in that game. He runs all day. That was his second lowest production of the season. Cowboys defense has already been tested. They face Tom Brady, Joe Burrow, a Brian Dable coached team, which I do elevate now because he is so smart of a coach, and last year's Super Bowl champs in the Rams. You can say what you want about the Rams. They still won the Super Bowl last year. Still have a good head coach. That's still a good spot. I trust Dallas defense. I need to know that Michael Parsons is good, but I still like the Cowboys at 6 because they still do have a solid pass rush with or without Parsons.
You and I literally did the same thing. I bet the Cowboys on Monday morning. I said, I love the Cowboys. They're going to be my best bet. And then it went to 6. And I said, oh, fuck. What just happened? And then I thought, oh my God, are they going to start Dak? Why would they do this? Tell me they're not going to do this. And I kind of just went in this like little tailspin. And I was like, all right, I'm done talking about the Cowboys until I get a definitive starter named. Everybody practices, as you mentioned with Michael Parsons. I did not buy off of it, but I hate. I always joke about the CLV trophies that I never cash. Let me tell you when I'm on the opposite of that. I really never cash. I like the Cowboys. I do in this situation. We know last week divisional dogs went 6-0 against the spread. We know that those divisional underdogs I love. That's what I'm looking for, is those certain type of angles that I know long term are cashing tickets. I'm with you here. I would bet against the Eagles last week, partially because they had this game on deck. Sunday night football, these are typically better games than we've seen on Thursday night. A little bit more high scoring, of course, but I do like the Cowboys here. I think the Cowboys can win this game. They're going to put pressure on Jalen Hurts. And when you put pressure on Jalen Hurts, you can force him into mistakes. We've seen it time and time again. And yes, Hurts has improved. Yes, this Eagles team has improved. I think 6 is a pretty steep number in a divisional game. Now, I know a lot of people are going to want to be on the Cowboys because the Cowboys have been doing so good under Cooper Rush.
But they're not. How are you saying that everyone wants to be on the Cowboys when the line went from 4.5 to 6.5?
Well, that's my concern, right? Because I think that the sharp guys are probably on the Eagles. And that's why we saw that line go without any significant injury or anything. I think that they bet them on Monday and Tuesday. And that kind of went against us. That doesn't mean that that's the end all be all. I think that the Cowboys defense, if they can put Hurts in check, as I mentioned, I think that they can win this game. They've got to have him throw the ball downfield. And that's something he doesn't do all that often. Obviously, we know that he has an arm, but he only has 4 touchdown passes, 2 interceptions. Listen, every other score's come on the ground. And that Dallas defense is the real deal. I'm trying to look and see if Micah Parsons, did they go ahead and say he is a go?
No, nothing's been updated since yesterday.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. I see probable. I'm seeing probable. Probable's good. Probable makes me happy.
How about DeMarcus Lawrence?
DeMarcus Lawrence.
Because so it's not just like Micah Parsons is one of the best pass rushers in the league. Yes, but this is one of the best pass rushing units because they also have Dorrance Armstrong, they also have DeMarcus Lawrence, and they have Dante Fowler. These are all players who have 2 or more sacks to their name. It is just that Micah Parsons leads the team in sacks, but as long as Dorrance Armstrong is there, I'm good. He wasn't on the injury list. DeMarcus Lawrence was limited, but that was early in the week on Tuesday. Yeah, so likely he shouldn't even be on the injury list right now.
Yeah, he's not on the injury list. I'm not seeing him anyway.
Which means he's a go.
Okay.
I want to plug it in.
And Dak Prescott is doubtful, which is perfect. I want Cooper Rush. I know exactly what I'm going to get with Cooper. No disrespect to Dak, but also I said on Bet on It this week, and we talked about this game, and I didn't admit that I'd already bet it because I was like, let's just sit this one out. But I don't think you sit the hot hand. I think Jerry Jones at least knows that much, and it looks as if there's no reason to rush Dak back. When we have Cooper Rush, who's been plenty serviceable, I like the Cowboys this week, especially at 6.
And I'm with you. I think they can definitely win. But at the very least, 6 points, man. And I know what the argument is when it comes to the Cowboys, that we are so reliant on them having their defense because their offense is so lackluster. You have Cooper Rush, who doesn't really throw touchdowns. They don't really get downfield, but their defense has just been so dominant that it's been a non-factor. And you can also look at the schedule of opponents that the Cowboys have played as far as quarterback play. You have Tom Brady and Joe Burrow. They did great in those games, sure. They lost 19-3, but that was when Dak went out. But then since then, they played Daniel Jones, Washington, and Matthew Stafford, who's like broken. So, but the exact same can be said about the Eagles. They faced the Lions, Washington, the Jags, and the Cardinals, who we know Cardinals is not the same. Think long, think wrong. We like the Cowboys. Put it in.
I agree. Also love the low total. 42 is really nice because fits exactly what you were just saying about the Cowboys. The Cowboys aren't winning this game in a shootout, Pam. They're winning this game in a hard-fought defensive game, 21-17 type of scenario. So I'm with you.
We can be entirely wrong, and the Eagles could win 21-10.
Eagles 6-0 as a home favorite. They are. They've been a good home favorite against the spread. Yeah. But listen, that's only a 6-game sample. No, it's a 6-game sample size. Listen, these are all just media talking points. I want to throw that out there. I know this is a show. We talk about stats and stuff, but sometimes I just have to find something because I can't just say, oh, my numbers made the game 6 and then sit there with a smile on my face. And so I have all of these little tiny trends or little angles, but that's why I said that the Saints sample size over 200 games was much more significant to me than just being like, oh, the Eagles are great as a home favorite this last year and a half.
Right. And it's also like, I know that I'm talking about the pass rush, I'm talking about DeMarcus Lawrence, and I'm talking about Micah Parsons, but it's also about the red zone production. The reason why the Cowboys have been so low scoring games and why this total is at 42 is because Dallas does not allow touchdowns. They are allowing the lowest rate in the league for touchdowns. That means they are forcing field goals. What happens in a 6-point spread if you're forcing field goals? Like, the Eagles are going to have to make like 10 field goals to cover a 6-point spread. I trust the defense overall as a unit, not just the pass rush, but definitely that's what I weigh heavily on when I'm looking at data points.
Yeah,
okay, that's in.
Okay.
So then we're at a loss for everything else.
So why do you like the Ravens? Because I'm on the Giants. Giants is my second favorite bet, if you will. I'm going to be on the Saints and the Giants. And obviously, as I already mentioned, I thought the Cowboys are going to be my best bet because I already bet it. But we'll see. Those are the two that I liked the most. The Giants just is more of a sandwich spot. It's more of a situational play. As you mentioned, you like Brian Dable. Brian Dable ruined my weekend. Packers, all I had to have him do was win. That's all I had to have him do. I had him in Survivor up 17-3. I leave grandma's house. I drive to Raymond James Stadium. It is 2020, and I'm going, what the hell just happened? And whether that was on the Giants or the Packers, again, I do think his team is really scrappy. I think that they play really tough. And here's a Ravens team who didn't cover yet again. And they are so infuriating, especially on the road. And who do they play next week? They play the Browns, another divisional game. So I stole this one from my buddy Marco. I had already said I lean towards the Giants, and he said they have a great sandwich spot. And I said, ooh, that just kind of elevates my opinion on the Giants just a little bit more.
Well,
and
okay.
At 5, is it 5.5 in the contest?
It's 5.
It's 5. Okay.
So here's the thing, though, with why I like the Ravens. Oh, it is 5.5. But let's not forget, like, yes, the Giants last week, you just said that they ruined your Survivor and everything. But let's not forget that the Giants were actually down. They were down 20-10. They were down 17-3. And now going up against a Lamar Jackson team that has, I know, though they have blown their double-digit leads, but they have had the ball with a double-digit point lead in every game this season. I don't believe that the Giants can pull out a double whammy twice in back-to-back weeks. This is going to be.
Remember when we talked about with the 5.5 point spreads? I think the Giants win this game outright.
Oh, you're crazy. You're crazy.
And I'm over here holding a AFC North ticket in the Ravens and an over 9.5 win ticket. And I think that the Giants win this game. I kid you not. Yeah.
Here's how I see this 27-10. Like, the Giants this time around can't pull it out. Why? Because the Baltimore Ravens have one defense. What is it? Against the run. Yeah. Giants have one defense. What is it? Against the pass. Well, the Ravens are still the best rushing team, and it's because of Lamar Jackson.
Absolutely.
So I don't agree with the Giants. I think the Ravens are going to comfortably win by 2 scores.
What else do I got on my list? Wait, what do we have right now? We have
This is the week. Okay. We have Saints plus 1.5, Dolphins plus 3.5, Falcons plus 5.5, and Cowboys plus 6.
Okay.
The other game that I was on, opposite. I think we have to now talk about games that we're typically opposite of because we don't have enough options. You like the Browns, but I like the Patriots.
The Browns are horrific. You think I want to back the Browns? No, I don't.
I like the Patriots. I think Bailey Zappi is a fine quarterback.
3.5, I love the Patriots.
It's 2.5.
At 2.5.
So here's the reason why, though, because the Browns rushing defense, they were started out really strong in the season. Okay, I was like, okay, this is like a really good Browns team overall. But in back-to-back weeks, they've let off their foot on the gas here. Like against the Panthers and the Jets in back-to-back weeks, the Browns allowed 200 rushing yards to the Falcons. They allowed 240 rushing yards to the Chargers. The Chargers don't run. So the Browns are now bottom 5 in the league for allowing rushing attempts to result in either a first down or a touchdown. New England is top 10 in rushing touchdown percentage. So this is going to be a game for the for the Patriots running backs in Ramondre Stevenson, Damian Harris. He was questionable, but he was limited. He did practice. Quarterback Bailey Zappi. I think he's been a fine quarterback, 75%
Yeah.
completion in 2 games. Maybe I'm not going to say he's an upgrade, but I think he's not that far off, if not like the exact same thing as having Mac Jones. That's all I got. Is that their rushing defense has like stalled.
This Browns team has got to be the most infuriating team. They could easily be 5-0. They really could be.
Right.
They have shot themselves in the foot on so many occasions. That's why I said I don't really want to take the Browns. I don't. They are not a fun team to back. They cannot seem to close it out and or get out of their own way. But they were on my long list as of teams to look for. At 2.5, I think you can put the Pats in a teaser all day and feel pretty good about it. The problem is
Right.
Bill Belichick's just not great as an underdog. And I know I was on them as an underdog, but I was on them because of the Brian Hoyer drop off and playing in an overreaction. They got the cover there. The Pats on the road seem like just such an easy spot here to take. So I wrote down the Browns again. I'm not going to be betting them with my hard-earned dollars. And then the only other game.
So then let's kind of try to pivot back to one that we kind of touched up on. You liked the Colts, but you liked the Colts at -1.5. I like the Jags at +2.5.
And the contest is 2.5.
Yeah, the contest is 2.5. I was all along, I've been saying the Colts are going to find their way. The Colts are going to find their way. Are they going to find their way? They've been outscored 71-26 in the first half of the season. That is the second largest first half differential in the league behind Arizona. And that's because Arizona scores 0 points in the first quarter. They're allowing 6.5 sacks plus turnovers per game. That is the second worst in the league. That's the Colts. I mean, you're talking about bad versus bad. If it was 3, but they're not ever going to give you 3. That's too easy.
Yeah, they're not. And that's the whole point of these contests, right? The Jaguars were able to pressure Matt Ryan so bad in that first game. I mean,
and the Colts and what's their offense built off of? The rushing game, right? We're talking about how bad Matt Ryan is. They're built off the rushing game. 24, the second highest rate in the league. 24% of the Colts rushing attempts have failed to gain yardage. That is the second highest rate in the league. So they are piss poor at trying to run the ball right now.
I mean, Matt Ryan has 7 interceptions. They have to run the ball. They cannot continue to turn the ball over 2 or 3 times a game and expect to win games. I mean, look what they did versus the Chiefs. They played damn near a flawless game, and that's the only way they're going to win these games. The interesting spot here is Indianapolis has been terrible as a favorite. Jacksonville's been terrible straight up on the road. This is somebody's going to look at this and say, just pick the winner. And so I said, okay, fine, I'll take the Colts here in a divisional spot. But as I just mentioned, those divisional dogs have been really great as well. This is one that I'm going to put the Jags in a teaser and just probably not watch.
Teaser. That was my teaser article, is the Jags in a teaser, because
I think it's going to be a horrible game. It's going to be
I would be surprised at their separation.
17-14, and everybody's going to have a snooze fest and cry about it. The only game that I would be willing to go back to would be the Kansas City game. I'd take Kansas City +2.5 at home.
Oh, fuck. We're committing. It's either Jags on the road, or the Chiefs.
Yeah, and I really don't want to take the Jags on the road. I had a whole bunch of games that I liked on Tuesday, and I've had to really dwindle things down and like I said, show some discipline. The only 3 games I've actually gotten to the window with: Giants, Saints, Cowboys. As I mentioned, I bet it at a horrible number, and I'm going to bet Miami though. I am going to bet Miami. I'm going to see if I can still find a 3.5, even though I think it's pretty much 3 everywhere. Outside of that, I'm good for Sunday.
So here's why I was thinking about it yesterday, that I don't like to listen to people. I like to listen to other people's podcasts just to hear. I'm trying to practice better at my delivery. So I listen to other people, try to get ideas from how they give their responses and whatnot. What I hear a lot is, I think this is an exact 3-point game, except I truly do believe that this is an exact 3-point game for the Chiefs and the Bills. Like, it's going to be something like 33-30, 31-34. And
I was going to say, it looks like it. You think I want to take the under 54 here? I mean,
I took the over. I love the over. No,
how could you take the under here?
No. This is 100% over. But I'm talking about like a 3-point. So anything below 3, I don't want.
Okay. But I thought you thought the Chiefs could win the game. I guess that's where,
Yeah, but it
Kansas
could,
City
like,
doesn't lose all that often at home. When's the last time they lost at home? Last year? Did they lose at home last year? I got to look that up.
oh, this is a rough week.
Let's see. Last year.
They lost at home to the Bengals in overtime. 3-point
That's
game.
right.
They lost at home to the Chargers. 7-point game. And then before then, they lost to Tampa. Oh, that was a neutral field. They lost to the Raiders.
Yeah, the Raiders
8,
game.
and they lost to the Chargers in January. So they do lose at home.
Yeah. They've lost, I mean, out of the last 20 games, they've lost 2 at home.
And just like mark my words. Just like mark my words. I feel like, honestly, like, I think this is like a 31-34 type of game to
only
either side.
concern and why I lean the Bills early on in the week is because Kansas City has given up a ton of points lately. And I said I wish I had guts on Monday. I said it on all my shows. I was like, God, I just don't have the guts to take this crappy Raiders team, knowing that every single divisional dog is covered this weekend. And my problem is I thought Kansas City was maybe looking ahead to this game. But my other problem is they give up a ton of points still on defense. Their defense has not been great. And this Bills offense is high powered. I mean, they're one of the faster offenses I've seen in quite a while. Frankly, they remind me of the 2019 Chiefs.
So then, you know what? We have to lay off this game because just a few minutes ago you said Chiefs. And then now you're saying, well, let's go Bills.
No, I'm not saying let's go Bills. I'm just saying I see why you like the Chiefs. I don't love the Bills here, and I'm not in the business of laying road chalk. I never really have been. And so I did lean that way, but I can see why you like the Chiefs, but that Chiefs defense is just a little too suspect for me.
So I think by default, no, I got nothing. The other game that I liked was the Cardinals, but you like Seahawks. Oh, that is your best bet.
I don't love the Seahawks here.
Oh,
Pete Carroll is really infuriating. Geno Smith has looked pretty dang good, except for last week, as I mentioned, because I was on the Saints -5. Kind of told everybody that I thought we were going to see this Seahawks team hit a defense that was going to be able to slow them down. Arizona looked okay last week. I was happy to get the cover, but they're kind of shaky in themselves. You know what I mean? Kyler Murray's not been great.
But how about then? So, because we're not agreeing on the Chiefs, we're not agreeing on the Colts. How about, do you lean to the Cardinals or do you like the Seahawks? Because of how bad, how atrocious the Seattle defense is. They are literally
really
last in the league. Literally last in the league. That even Kyler Murray, and if you're talking about the teams, you have to also look at context. Look at the teams that Arizona has faced. They are Arizona Cardinals. They have faced some, I mean, you face the Chiefs, the Rams, and the Eagles. I mean, let's exclude the Rams. So you face the Chiefs. 2 of your 3 losses are against Patrick Mahomes and arguably one of the best teams in the NFL right now. And they lost to the Eagles by 3. They got handed to by the Chiefs, but do you blame them? And now you're going up against literally the worst defense.
Team too. Arizona's been much better on the road than they have at home. You're right. How much more can Geno Smith keep continuing to perform at a high level? I'm not sure. Maybe he really is good and just been sitting on the bench this whole time. But you're right. That defense is very suspect. And you put pressure.
They lost. And this is a rushing team. The Cardinals are a rush. They rush heavily. Granted, it comes a lot in the second production, but the Seahawks did already lose to a rushing team in the Falcons. They lost 27-23, and that's because they gave up. Let me go ahead and see. They gave up 200. That was passing. They gave up 6 yards per carry to the Falcons. They had some turnovers. They allowed 45 points from the Lions. I mean, this defense is just like, it really is just so atrocious that even despite how wonky Cardinals have been, at least you're going up against the worst defense.
I'd rather take them on the road than at home. I'll tell you that much. I think this is
Plug it
probably a
in.
good get right spot for Kyler Murray, if we're being honest. I feel like this is a good right spot for that get right spot for that offense. Too bad DeAndre Hopkins isn't back this week. Otherwise, I would be 100% in. But the Cardinals 10-1 straight up and against the spread in their last regular season road games. I'll do the
Wow.
Cardinals.
Because it's always that fifth game that gives us trouble. But I mean, you're fading the worst defense in the league. So then, okay,
I don't hate it.
that's our card, and I don't
Okay.
love it. And that's okay. That's a good compromise. We don't love it, but we compromise. So let's go with
Okay.
it. So then that's
So
our
we've got-
card. We got the Saints plus 1.5 at home to the Bengals, the Dolphins plus 3.5 at home to the Vikings, the Falcons plus 5.5 at home to the 49ers, Cowboys plus 6 on the road to the Eagles, and the Cardinals minus 2.5 at Seattle.
Okay.
This is it.
Done deal. Happy Friday.
That's all you can do is you find a compromise in spots that you normally wouldn't, because you got to put together five picks. So that's our card. So do make sure to follow Kelly on Twitter at KellyInVegas. You can follow me at Twitter at Pamela M35. Make sure you like, subscribe, leave comments. Let us know about this card because it was a rough one. So let us know your thoughts. Kelly, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
I don't think
fingers
I have
crossed every week. Every week now.
Every week.
Legs crossed, fingers crossed, prayers. We need all of the good vibes. Whatever you believe in, please help us.
Everyone, cross your fingers, cross your toes. That does it for another episode of Stack of Stats.